Hello, scholars! Welcome you to yet another interesting class in history. In today's lesson, you will learn about tertiary sources of history. In our previous classes, we've talked about primary sources of history and secondary sources of history. In today's lesson, you will learn about tertiary sources of history and the examples of tertiary sources of history. So, what are tertiary sources of history? This refers to a combination of primary and secondary sources of history, which summarizes topics and content of historical research. Tertiary sources of history are vital information providers in historical research. Now, the tertiary sources of history depends on the existence of the primary and the secondary sources for its generation. It then means that without the availability of primary and secondary sources, tertiary sources will not exist. Tertiary sources of history may not be as authoritative as the primary and secondary sources of history, but they are equally important sources of history, and they are one step away from the primary and secondary sources of history. Now let's talk about the examples of tertiary sources of history. We have dictionaries, encyclopedias, student projects, memoranda or memos, bulletins, and the internet. Now let's talk about student projects. What are student projects? When a student or group of students are given assignments and projects to carry out which involves searching into events that happened in the past, their submission and write-up can be regarded as an important source of history. The student projects involve active learning and inquiry-based learning that is centered on the students. It involves a dynamic classroom approach where students acquire a deeper knowledge through active participation of real-world problems. Next up, let's talk about bulletins. Bulletins are a brief account or statement in the form of news, events, and notices that are issued for the information of the public. Bulletins are short official statements made by the president, his ministers, political office holders, summary of news in electronic and print media such as newspapers and magazines. They are important sources of history for any nation. Now remember that government activities today become important history tomorrow. Now let's talk about memos. What are memos? It is a document of communication where decisions, events, and observations on different subject matters are recorded. Memoranda refer to short notes that are meant for something to be remembered, especially something vital that needs to be done or acted upon in the future. They are reminder notes that are meant for actions. This is an important source of history in business, office, and government institutions. Now let's talk about the internet as a tertiary source of history. A lot of information that are historical in nature can be sourced from the internet using Google search engines and Wikipedia. The internet has brought historical facts closer to us. That information that we get from the internet can be useful to us in enhancing our historical depth on certain issues and events. Anywhere we are in the world, with just a visit to the internet, we can get any information. So the internet is really an important source of history. Next up, let's talk about dictionaries as an example of tertiary sources of history. So what are dictionaries? A dictionary is a book that gives information on a particular subject or a particular class of words, usually written in alphabetical order. Dictionaries gives us the meaning of varieties of words. Any word we are actually looking for, with a search on the dictionary, it will give us the meaning of the word. And if it has more than one meaning, Dictionary will also do that, giving us different meanings. Now let's talk about encyclopedias. Encyclopedia is a book or a set of books that gives information on many subjects or on many aspects of one subject, and encyclopedias are typically arranged in alphabetical order. With this, we've come to the end of our class for today, and I hope you've learned a lot. Don't forget to attempt your quizzes and also do your assignment, as it forms part of your continuous assessment. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye and stay safe. I'll see you in our next class. Bye bye.